And hey, we're gonna continue in our series on connections. Last week we started connections, talking about the connection that you have with yourself. It all starts with yourself. If you can't love yourself well, you're gonna struggle loving others well. You're gonna struggle loving God well. You're gonna struggle in all your relationships if when you come to the table, it's already broken. You know what I'm talking about? Like if you got issues, then every one of your relationships has issues. And so let's make sure that we know how to love ourselves and love God and love people as you love yourself. And I want to talk today for a few minutes on our friendships. I think all of us would agree that the best parts of our life always come with people. I think the worst parts of our life, maybe the most painful moments of your life, revolves around a person. You see, I think too many of us are focused on things that ultimately don't add value or worth or significance, but we spend most of our time on stuff and a little bit of our time on people, but it's the people that make the stuff worth it. It's the people that make the life worth it. Many of us feel like, man, I just want to get that another job. I just need to get that education. I just need that degree. If I could just get a raise, if I could just get a new house, if I only had their car, if I only had their hair, if I only had that pair of clothes, if I only had the new skinny jeans and the baggy jeans, if I could just get those new shoes. And ultimately, it ends up not mattering, but if you invested in people and in relationships, how many of us right now have ever had a bag of clothes in the back of your car and you drove around for 3 months before you got rid of it? You know what I'm talking about? Like that old garbage bag that sits in your trunk. I think there's a rule, right? When you clean your closet out and you put it in a back garbage bag, you got to put it in your trunk for 3 months before you can do anything else with it. And, but you know what I'm talking about? Anyone else? It's not just a me issue. It's not a my wife issue. It's an us issue, right? It's not just my wife that has that struggle. But do you remember the day that you were so jacked up about them shoes and now we're just junk in a garbage bag in the back of your trunk? You're like, oh, I finally got them new, I finally got some new jeans. I've been saving up for them jeans. And all of a sudden now they just in a garbage bag in your trunk. That day you couldn't wait to get that new big screen TV, only not to realize that it's just bigger and Costco's got them now for half the price. And you're like, what the? See, we put so much energy into the new clothes and the new TV and maybe the new upgraded boat or an upgraded car, and we got to get that new job. And hey, I might even be willing to move across the country for a job. I don't know anyone there. I don't have any family there. I don't have any friends there. I definitely don't have a church there. But if they're going to give me a few more dollars an hour, I'm moving my family across country because I need the stuff. But if you get all the stuff and you have no one to celebrate with, it ends up not mattering anyway. Because no one saw you rock your new shoes. No one cared about your new gear. No one came over to watch the game on your new television. And it just ended up not even mattering, all the stuff you were focused on while you were living your life passing the people that mattered most. Many of us are spending too much of our energy trying to accumulate things that don't matter. And we keep coming back to, well, we're lonely and we're frustrated and we're hurting, and it's all because we're focused on the wrong stuff. It's like you're climbing a ladder, but when you get to the top of it, you were climbing the wrong one the whole time. You might get to the top, but you're climbing the wrong one. I want to talk about friendships today for a few moments. I think this is going to hit every single one of us, whether you're new to church or you were raised in church, whether you're young or old, because at the end of the day, it's our friendships, it's our relationships, it's the people in our life that ultimately make it meaningful, significant, worth it. Many of us, I think, have more, I don't say this, we've misdefined the word friend. And so we struggle in our friendships. Last week I was talking about, we misunderstand the word love. Remember, I think it's funny that we use the same word to describe our feelings towards a hamburger and our feelings towards our spouse. Man, I love a good burger. I love my spouse. Like, wait, hold up. How in the world can that mean the same thing? How can I use love to communicate how I feel towards a hamburger and how I feel towards the love of my life? There's a miss. And the same thing has happened to the word friend, because many of us think, oh, well, I got all these friends on Facebook. I got all these friends that follow me on Instagram. I got all these friends in my life. And it's this big, large, wide, but those aren't your friends. Those are your acquaintances. Just because you recognize their face and know their name does not mean they're your friend. And that's not speaking ill or down of them. That's just saying that that's an acquaintance, but that might not be a friendship. But the problem is, if everyone is a friend, you're gonna struggle being a quality friend to that many people. And you probably have devalued what friendship is if you think that many people could be that to you. Because if you think all of these people are my friend, then you treat all of them equally, all of them the same. And that means no one really has access to you. Who are you? What do you struggle with? At night, what keeps you awake? What wakes you up? What are the dreams in your heart? What are the aspirations of your life? Who is the true you? What are the wounds that you carry? What are the hurts that you're nurturing? What are the things that you're trying to get over? If everyone is a friend, is anyone ever actually a friend? See, Jesus had different layers of relationships. And just because someone knew Jesus and just because Jesus invited that person to follow doesn't mean that it made that person a close relationship and friendship of Jesus. You remember in Acts, after Jesus goes to heaven, they're all in the upper room waiting. It says there was 120 of them waiting in the upper room. Holy Spirit falls, starts speaking tongues of fire, and then it goes on to say, Peter said, we gotta pick someone to fill the role of Judas. He goes, now catch this. Let's pick someone that was with us from the day of the baptism to the day of the ascension. That's a 3-year period, and he had 100+ people in that room, and he was picking one person to fill one spot that was there following Jesus every day for 3 years. More than 12 people followed Jesus for 3 years. There's roughly 120. That's a big group. But you also remember when Jesus sent the 70 out 2 by 2 to cast out demons, to heal the sick, to proclaim the gospel to all the cities around. So he didn't just have 120 following him. He had a closer group of 70 that he commissioned, that he gave power to. So y'all thinking, oh, it's just the 12 disciples. Well, what happened to the 70 that also had the power to cast out demons in his name? So it wasn't the 120, and it wasn't just the 70. He tightens that group down to 12. Many of us are familiar with the 12 disciples. But he doesn't stop there. Jesus actually went one step further and brought 3 of those 12 into his inner circle. And those 3 saw him on the Mount Transfiguration. Those 3 come into the house when he raised a girl from the dead. Those 3 were close with him. Those 3 went deeper into the garden to pray with him. See, those 3 were closer than the 12, which were closer than the 70, which were closer than the 120, which were closer than the crowds. Today, my first thought, my first point is that your friend circle is smaller than you think it is. Or I should say this way, it should be smaller than you think it is. It should be a few. Everyone on your Facebook group isn't your friend. Everyone that follows you on Instagram isn't your friend. Everyone that knows your name isn't you. Now they're acquaintances. And I think this is something that I think we've missed. Jesus in the Bible tells us to love our neighbor. So you're supposed to love everyone. But just because they're your neighbor doesn't make them your friend. It makes them your acquaintance. We love everyone. That's what Jesus did. He went everywhere helping, healing, loving, serving. If he passed someone in need, he helped that person in need. He didn't stop and say, by the way, since you're here, can I tell you all my wounds as well? Here's my dreams, my aspirations. No, he helped the person, served the person, loved the person, and kept on moving. Just because someone knows who you are doesn't mean they're your friend. See, we've minimized friendship, and so we've made acquaintances friends. But that's not the way the Bible lays it out for us. And so many of us are struggling in our friends because it's too broad, it's too wide, it's too open, it's too abstract. maybe you need to take a step and go, okay, I got 70 that I know, 70 that know me, but I need to find 12 that are on this same mission and journey with me. But I don't need to stop there. I need to find 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 that know me, that I bring into my life, that I open myself up to, that I allow them to know my hopes and my dreams and my aspirations and my goals and my vision and my blind spots and I need to allow them to speak to what I'm not seeing sometimes. Acquaintances aren't always friends, and that's not a bad thing, church. That's not a hateful thing. That's not devaluing someone. That's simply identifying their place in your life in a healthy way. Because you can't pay the price of friendship for 70 people. You don't got the time. You don't got the energy. You don't got the capacity. You couldn't be there in a moment's notice for 70 people. You couldn't wake up in the middle of the night to help 70 different people. You couldn't invest that level of love and support and prayer the way you're called to with your close friends. Second thing you need in a healthy friendship is they need to be godly. Well, that's kind of obvious, isn't it? It should be. And that unfortunately it's not. You gotta pick godly friends. Can I say it this way? When I go to the airport, they're all nice people at the airport, I'm assuming. No one's a bad person. No one's an evil person. However, I gotta get on that plane and go where I'm called to go. And it doesn't mean that I think ill of them. They're just not going where I'm going. So I gotta pick to stay with them or to pick my destination. I can't always have both. And many of us have decided to stay with friends that aren't going where you're going. They're not godly. They keep encouraging or influencing, or more so not even encouraging, just staying where they are and keeping you there. Just stay with me here. But God's got more for me. Yeah, but man, this is good. This is like, Jesus loved everyone. He's just with there. No. Sometimes you have to say, I'm not mad at you. I don't think ill of you, but God's got a destiny for me and I got to get on the plane. And if this isn't where you're going, I love you. I'm praying for you. I'll encourage you. And if there's ever a day you want to get on this plane, let's roll. But this is where I'm going. And so I got to lean into the things of God. Bible says, as iron sharpens iron, so a man sharpens the countenance of his friends. Can I put that in reverse? Can I break that down a little bit for us? When you're with your friends, there is a sharpening that's happening. Where do they sharpen you the most? Let me say it this way. When you leave your friends, what's the sharpest in your life? Like, are you like, man, every time I leave that guy, I know so many fantasy football stats. Man, when I'm with that person, I am so good at complaining. They just sharpen my, man, when I'm with that person, I am so good at arguing with my wife. I just leave their company and they just sharpen that tool. I am so good at speaking down. Like, what is it that they're sharpening? Because friendship sharpens. The problem is, where or what are they sharpening in you? Are they sharpening your desire for things? Are they sharpening your desire for politics? Are they sharpening your complaint towards political people? Like every time you're with them, you're like, oh, that is an issue. I can't believe they did that. Did you see this reel? Did you see this clip? I can't believe someone said that. What is it that they're sharpening? When you leave that friend, do you just feel super depressed? Like, man, I'm a good depressed person around them. Just love being depressed around them. I'm like the best depressed person ever. Think about it. We all have them friends that when you leave, there's something that's sharper. Problem is, it might not be godly. Just because they're sharpening you doesn't mean they're sharpening you in godly things. They might be sharpening you in the things you don't want to be sharper in. Do you have godly friends? Friends that are on your trip, that are on your destination, that are going where you're called to go, that are fanning the flame of faith in your life, and that says, listen, this is your destiny, this is your calling, and I'm going the same direction. Let's serve people together. Let's love people together. Let's build church together. Let's let's keep growing together. Or your friends like, man, we good. Let's go out on the lake. Relax. What are your friends doing? Are they godly? 1 Corinthians 15:33 says, don't be deceived. Bad company corrupts good character. Don't be deceived. Bad company corrupts good character. You could amen me as much as you want today. If you go kick it with your worldly friend this afternoon, none of this is gonna last. I can preach the best message of my life, but your relationships, your friendships will nullify everything you did today. Bad company corrupts good character. Man, you could want God to use you, but if you're unwilling to change your company, if you're unwilling to change your friendships, if you're unwilling to change those that have influence in your life, no matter how much you want the things of God, no matter how much you want to try to love God and serve God, if you keep the wrong relationships, you're gonna get to the wrong destination. Third thing a good friend is they're present. They're just simply there. They're with you. Genesis 2 says, God says, it's not good for man to be alone. It's not good for man to be alone. This is crazy to me, because as I think about it, it says that it's the creation story. God had just made the whole universe, he had formed a perfect garden for Adam to exist in. We're talking, it's sunny, it's beautiful, ain't no humidity, animals are just chilling. I mean, he might have been riding a lion that afternoon. I don't know, like we're just making stuff up, but it was a good day. And all of a sudden, God, not Adam doesn't complain. Adam's not like, God, I need more people. No, God looked at Adam and said, hold up. I know that I made this and it should be perfect because there's no sin, there's no issues, there's no corruption, but it's not good. Something's not right. If it was just you and God in a garden, your life would not be full. Your life would not be right. You need people. It's not good that you're alone. If your thoughts live in your head only, I bet they're bad thoughts. I bet they're getting worse. If you just ruminate over your struggles, your issues, your victim idea, I was owed, I'm due. If you just live in your own thoughts, they're not getting healthier. You need people. It's not good for man to be alone. Ecclesiastes 4:9. Woe to the man that walks alone. Two are better than one because they have a good reward for their labor. If they fall, one will lift up his companion. But woe to him who is alone when he falls. Not if he falls, but when he falls. For he has no one to help him up. Woe to you who are alone. Your isolation, I just don't need people. That's not true. Well, it's just me and God. That's not true. I just have my own relationship with God. That's not true. I don't need the church. That's not true. That's not what the Bible says, at least. Can I just go down this thought for a minute? It's not in my notes, but little soapbox moment. You could, check the scores if you don't want this, smoke. But the person that says, I have my own relationship with Jesus and I don't need the church, that's not a godly thought. Could I go as far as to say that's a demonic thought? Because you're saying that I don't need to submit to church or be a part of the community that God is building. If you follow that route far enough, what you're gonna realize is you've elevated yourself and your view above submission, authority, and ultimately the Bible. The only other person that's more prideful than that is the devil. God said it in his word over and over and over, the assembly of the saints. Be a part of what I'm building. Be in the church, get planted in the church. So the person, I don't need church. I don't need organized religion. I don't need to submit. I don't need people. That's false. That's actually demonic. The devil is trying to keep you isolated. Think about it. The last thing the devil wants you to do is be planted in a healthy, vibrant church with great people. People saying, I don't need church. I don't need God. I have my own religion. Stop it. That's pride. That's arrogance. That's not the, you didn't read that in the Bible. Even God, when he saw Adam and it was just Adam and God, God's like, this isn't good. If it wasn't good for Adam in a perfect world, it's not good for us today. You need people. Proverbs 17:17. I love this verse. It says, they're gonna throw it up eventually. A friend loves at sometimes. A friend loves at good times. A friend loves when you're rich. A friend loves when it's easy. A friend loves at all times. At all times. That's what friendship is. There's a presence. Now, some of my best friends live out of the state, so they're not always with me in person, but they're present. They call, they check in, they follow up. They know when the big moments are coming. Hey, you just launched this. I had so many people of my friends calling me last Saturday and yesterday. How's foundations? How's the class? How's the students? What's going on? Like they're just checked. They know that they know it's been what I've been praying for a year. They know that I've been laboring and they know that I've been carrying that weight. So like, how is it going? This morning, I got multiple texts from 2 or 3 of my friends. They're like, hey, today connections, crush it, man. We're present. Your friendship has to be present. It's got to be at all times. At all times. Not in good times or in bad times. Don't be an ambulance chaser in your friendships. You only show up at crisis moments. No, at all times. Celebrate and mourn. Laugh and cry. A friend loves at all times. If your friendships are tight, they're not broad, they're not acquaintances, but they're true friendships. If your friendships are godly, if your friendships are present, that's a foundation. I want to stack 2 truths on that we're going to need to lean into today. Matthew 13:54. Go there. And the band, why don't you come onto the stage? Let's just play me out with this. He returned to Nazareth, he being Jesus, to his hometown. When he taught there in the synagogue, everyone was amazed and said, where does he get the wisdom and the power to do miracles? Keep on going, keep on going. Then they scoffed. He's just a carpenter's son. And we know Mary, his mother, and his brother James, Joseph, Simeon, and Judas. All his sisters live right here among us. Where did he learn all these things? And they were deeply offended and refused to believe in him. Then Jesus told them, a prophet is honored everywhere except in his own hometown amongst his own family. And so he did only a few miracles there because of their unbelief. A prophet is honored everywhere except in his own hometown. And because of the lack of honor, he only did a few things. Jesus was limited by a lack of honor. Think about this. God comes to earth in bodily form. Jesus had been raising the dead. Jesus had been opening blind eyes. Jesus had been walking on water. Jesus had been feeding thousands of people with the Lunchable. Jesus had been doing some really crazy stuff up in here. He goes back to his hometown, and instead of believing what he had been doing, they tried to minimize him and didn't honor the gifting that's in him. Same is true for you. If you live in a world that doesn't honor you, you won't be able to operate in the call God has on you. I need someone to catch this today because I think this is a truth that the Holy Spirit has for a few of us. And it's gonna go 2 ways. I'm gonna teach this side of it first. If you stay with that friends group that went to high school with you, if you stay with your college friends, if you stay with the people you grew up with, and they refuse to allow you to develop, and they refuse to allow you to grow, they keep trying to treat you like that high school self. They keep trying to treat you like that college self. They keep trying to treat you like you don't know where you, remember, don't forget where you came from. Don't forget your type of family. And we're smaller, we can't do that. If they keep trying to remind you of your past, you're gonna always struggle to allow the God that's in you to flow out of you. Too many of us have allowed our lives to be minimized and limited because we try to bring ourselves down to the environment around us. If honor limited Jesus, honor will limit you. Oh, I don't need my friends, I don't want to be high and mighty, my friend. No, I'm not saying to act uppity. I'm not saying to like, I'm a queen, you have to treat me like, no, I'm not saying to act weird about it. However, if your friends don't encourage you forward, add faith to where you're going, honor what God has put on your life. I remember one of the first times I ever taught, I was so nervous. And one of the things that I was the most afraid of is teaching to a room that had seen where I'd come from. You know, relate to that? Can I be a little more vulnerable today? See, and I think a lot of us have been there. Oh man, I don't know if I can start this business. My family's gonna think I'm silly. Man, no one in my family's ever gone to college. I don't know if I got it. Man, I don't think I could take that. I don't think I can start that company. I don't think I can invest that. Man, what will they think of me if I try to take that step of faith? We minimize ourselves, and we already know because the environment is they downplay, critique, criticize, remind of our past. But what could your life start to look like if the people in it started to cheer you on the most, encourage you the most, fan a flame of faith in you that drives you to you have to take that step of faith. You have to go back to school. You have to start that company. You have to start that family. You have to take that step because your people have been believing in you more than anyone else. What if your group said, man, I see such greatness in you. I see potential in you. Man, you're called to speak. You're called to lead. We can't wait for you to take that step of faith. We're gonna amen you like no one else. We're gonna cheer you on like no. What happens if you had a group of people around you that said, I bet you will take that step of faith? But it goes the other way around too. What happens when you start treating your friends like that? What happens if no one on the planet honors your friends as much as you honor your friends? What if it was your mandate to be the greatest cheerleader in their life? Say, man, you're gonna crush this. You were born for this. You were called to this. God's anointed you for this. Man, you're the smartest person in this area I know. You're the most gifted area in this I know. Man, this is on you. You can't ignore it. You can't deny it. Man, God's got more for you. Keep believing, keep stretching, keep praying, keep believing. Let me be the first investor because I'm believing that God's got his hand on your life. What would happen to your friends if they felt your encouragement at that level? See, if Jesus couldn't operate with a lack of honor, I don't think you will be able to either. And I think too many of us have allowed our friends to keep us down instead of lift us up. There's a story in the Old Testament of the Israelites, and they went to war. And it says that when Moses' hands were up, the enemy of Israel advanced. But he got tired and his arms started to drift. And when his arms went down, the army started to lose. So his brother and his sister, Aaron and Hur, came beside him and held his arms up. And as his arms were up, the army of Israel started to advance and they gained the victory. What would it look like if you came beside one of your friends and said, I got your arms, keep them up? When you're weary, I'm here. When you're hurting, I'm here. When you're tired, I'm here. When you're losing your faith, I got faith in you more than you have it over yourself. Like when your arms start to drift, call on me because I'm right here beside you. We're going to overcome this. We're going to get the victory together. I will keep your arms up when you're tired. Honor, honor, honor. Encourage, celebrate. Lastly, in our friends, in Mark 2, verse 2, I love this story. It says, they're gonna throw it on the screens for us. They couldn't bring him to Jesus. Soon the house where they were staying was so packed with visitors that there was no more room, even outside the door. While he was preaching God's word to them, 4 men arrived carrying a paralyzed man in a mat. They couldn't bring him to Jesus because of the crowd, so they dug a hole through the roof above his head. Come on, somebody. Then they lowered the man on a mat right down in front of Jesus, seeing their faith. Whose faith did Jesus see? Oh, hold up. Whose faith? I wish someone would get healed because of my faith. I wish my friends would get a miracle because I believed for it. I pray that God sees my faith and blesses you. Here, put it back up. So Jesus looked at him and said, he saw their faith. Stand up, pick up your mat and go home. And the man jumped up, grabbed his mat and walked out through a stunned onlookers. They were all amazed and praised God. We've never seen anything like this before. When you have a friends group that is close, it's not the crowd. See, they're saying nowadays, they're studying that they're saying most of us suffer from crowded loneliness. That resonates. Crowded loneliness. People everywhere, but I'm lonely in the middle of the crowd because I'm unseen, I'm unknown, I'm by myself. I got 100 Facebook friends, but no one know I'm going through a struggle. I got 60 likes on Instagram, but no one knows really what I'm going through. When our group isn't the 120 and it's not the 70, it's not even the 12, it's the 3. When our group of 3 or 4 is godly, when they sharpen me towards the things of God, when they're present, when they love at all times, then I have the ability to have honor coming in and out of my life. And lastly, I have a group of friends that will carry me to Jesus. You should have friends that carry you to Jesus. Let me say it this way. When you fall, where do your friends carry you? When you're struggling, where do they take you? Do they take you anywhere? Where do your friends go when you need help? Because these friends carried their friend to Jesus. They said, we going to Jesus. Oh, it's crowded. We don't care. We going through the roof. That's a big hole. This man was on a bed. It's a 6-foot hole. We're making room. But more than that, on a deeper level, this man's brokenness was safe in his friend's hands. Is your brokenness safe in your friend's hands? Is the worst part of you, is the most broken part of you, is the part that needs Jesus the most? Maybe it's not obvious. Maybe it's not a paralyzed issue. Maybe it's a broken heart. Maybe it's bitterness. Maybe it's unforgiveness. Maybe it's a wound that you carried from a childhood. Maybe it's something that happened in your past. Maybe it's unbelief in yourself. Maybe it's an eating issue. Is there something that's deep inside of you that most people don't know, but your friends can see? And when they see it, it's safe in their hands because they know where to take you. And they say, listen, I'm carrying you to Jesus in this pain. I'm carrying you to Jesus in this burden. I'm carrying you to Jesus in this loss. When you lost something, their friend is there and they're gonna mourn with you, but they're not gonna leave you there. They're gonna carry you to Jesus. For your friends, where do you carry them? See, this is why you can't have 100 plus friends. Because your friends need to carry you. You need to carry your friends to Jesus. You need to love them through their pain, and love them through their hurt, and love them through your loss, and love them through the struggle, and love them out of the depression, and love them in spite of the insecurity and in spite of the anxiety. And in the midst of it all, a friend loves at all times. So wherever they find themselves at, are you going to be next to them through it? And with the courage and the faith and the grit to tear through a roof, and to keep believing, and to keep praying, and to keep fighting, and to never to take no for an answer until Jesus finds a way into that struggle, and into that hurt, and into that setback. Our friendships, it costs too much to be able to pay that price for 50 or 60 people. You just don't have it. You don't have what it takes to personally, privately, consistently carry that many people. That's why you have to have your group. Where do you carry your friends? And when they see you at your worst, where do they bring you? When you see your friends at their worst, where will you bring them? I love that. Jesus saw their faith. Maybe Jesus needs to start seeing your faith in your friends' lives. Your faith. Could your faith be expressed as honor? Honoring the gift that's in them, calling out the calling on their life, calling out the giftings in their life, calling out the dreams that they've allowed to ignore, the dreams they've tried to silence, the dreams they've tried to press down, the dreams they've tried to sidestep. Go, no. There's too much on you. There's too much in you. There's purpose on you. There's destiny. Let's get on that plane together. Let's go towards the destiny that God has for us together. Let me cheer you on to getting out of the boat and walking on this water. Let's honor our friends. Let's carry our friends. Let's be the friends that God has called us to be. Amen? Come on, let's all close our eyes and bow our heads today.